It's time for the NFL draft that has been months in the making. And before we get to where I'm getting drafted, let's review some of my teammates and rivals currently in the league and how they're doing. Marshawn Ford, our former tight end, is entering into his third season after being drafted at the end of the first round 2 years ago. And in his first season, he had a great year, 700 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. But in his sophomore season, he had a little bit of a slump with 0 touchdowns and under 200 receiving yards for some reason. And Jawar Jordan had a similar slump. He did really well in his freshman season or his rookie season. And in his second year, he really struggled to even get on the field. He had 0 carries for 0 yards, got a lot of his snaps eaten up by other running backs, I guess. Our rival Noah Fafita got drafted 4th overall by the Rams, and then another quarterback, Jonathan Stewart, gets drafted, Cole Winters gets drafted, Preston Stone gets drafted to the Packers, and finally, I ended up getting taken with the 16th pick in the second round to go to the Cowboys, and so I didn't know how to feel about that exactly. They obviously have Dak Prescott still on the roster, so it seems like I'm going to be sitting behind Dak for a couple of years, but the draft is not over. We still have Cameron Wilson getting drafted and TJ Quinn, 2 of our former linebackers on Louisville. Wilson was picked at the end of the second round, and TJ Quinn was picked in the mid-third round by the Seahawks. Now we're going to go through and do a quick review of where everybody went exactly. You can see, again, Noah Fafita getting drafted 4th overall, and that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. He had a really good final season in our college series, and he was always consistently our rival when it came to trying to win the Heisman the last couple of years. Right now, you're seeing all the other players that ended up getting drafted in the first round ahead of me, but you're also going to see coming up Jonathan Stewart, who was drafted to play for the Houston Texans. He's going to be behind CJ Stroud, but they used a pick on a quarterback, which was kind of interesting for the Texans. But Jonathan Stewart is not bad. And then we're also seeing Preston Stone here, who got drafted by the Packers. And then a little bit after that, we end up going to the Cowboys. All right, so what do we got to do immediately? We got to end up proving ourselves to the Cowboys coaches that we can play QB and that we can fill in for Dak Prescott whenever we need to. But obviously, when you're trying to throw down the field, it's probably a great idea to listen to the directions and make sure you throw down the field instead of scrambling. But with that 95, 96 speed, it definitely makes you want to scramble more often. And so you can see here after the practice, we're doing a little bit of a team meeting. And right now we're jumping straight into preseason, playing against the Jets. And we're already into the second quarter. So Dak has already come out. And now we're playing against this Jets defense who, even though it's mostly backups, we're still playing against some really good, talented players. But don't go anywhere. Make sure to stay through these preseason games because we're not going to get into the home opener until next week. And I don't even think I'm going to end up starting since Dak is definitely still on the team. So right now, this is the most action we're going to be seeing for the foreseeable future. And don't worry, we're not going to just sim through and watch every single game that I'm not starting in. But we will see how, my position on the team progresses as the backup quarterback and what it takes to eventually reach being the starting quarterback for this team or another team. You don't know. You never know if we end up getting traded or dropped, or if we end up starting somehow. So right now, though, we're trying to prove ourselves in the preseason, and I end up forcing a terrible ball downfield into tight coverage with a corner right in front of my receiver, and it ends up getting intercepted. So obviously looking a little turnover prone, having little happy feet, running outside the pocket consistently, not setting my feet, throwing down the field, staying within the pocket, staying within the structure of the offense. But I'm making some insane throws like this one right here as I'm flying out of bounds, somehow finding the receiver. All right, now make sure you watch this play. We're up 10-7 right before the end of the first half, and I find some space on the left sideline, running down the field, juke out 2 defenders, try to fight for that first down pickup for some reason. I end up fumbling the ball. The Jets recover, and look at this. With no time left on the clock, the Jets down by 3 points at halftime. They return the fumble all the way for the touchdown, and that was like the cherry on top to just end the first half in the worst way possible. I had so many big plays and then so many terrible plays, and I don't know what redeeming qualities the coaches saw to put me back in to start the third quarter, but I did make a bomb throw down the field to get us into the red zone immediately, and then I ended up finding one of the backup wide receivers on a slant. He ends up dropping it through contact though, and we still somehow get into the end zone for a touchdown on 4th down, and we take a 17-14 lead, and then we are put in another 4th down situation, but we turn the ball over on downs after getting the ball to my receiver on a slant, but he ends up dropping it again. So we're not holding onto the ball through contact. It's tied 17-17 with about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and we're just trying to get down in position for a field goal. I'm feeling sped up at this point on offense, and I still feel like I can't hang out in the pocket and wait to make a pass. The pass rush is getting to me, and so at times I've tried escaping out and forcing some bad balls, and that's basically what happened on this play, where I'm trying to force it to the back corner of the end zone, but I don't have enough lift on the ball. And on 3rd and 9, when we should probably just be wasting time, I run outside the pocket, face pressure, throw a terrible ball, throwing it across body, and it gets intercepted when I threw it to a receiver in double coverage, which is a really bad play, but somehow we stop the Jets. I again run to the sideline and make a ridiculous throw one-on-one when it's tied 17-17. We get a walk-off field goal because of that play. So again, it was tremendous highs and extremely low lows. There was a lot of big plays that were really successful for me, and there were a lot of plays that were disgusting. And I'm not sure if the coaching staff kept me out there because they thought I could win us the game, or if they just wanted to see what was going to happen next. In the last preseason game of the season, I only got limited snaps in the 4th quarter with the game already out of hand, and it was clear to everyone, including myself, that I was going to be the backup quarterback. We ended up losing to the Raiders in preseason, which wasn't a big deal, but our first regular season game was against none other than the Rams and Noah Fafita, my arch nemesis, who was, of course, their starting quarterback since he was drafted 4th overall. And I had to sit from the sidelines and watch my team lose to this dude, and that irked me. Honestly, I think the Cowboys drafted me in the 2nd knowing that I was a project at quarterback, and the only reason I was drafted so high was because of my athleticism, and I haven't even discussed the most important part about being drafted to play for the Cowboys, which is that I got to reunite with my mentor and number 1 target in Marshawn Ford. And you guys saw how involved he was in my career at Louisville, both while he was on the team and then after he ended up declaring for the draft and playing for the Cowboys these last 2 seasons. And it's hard to say that a tight end who had under 200 receiving yards his 2nd season had enough sway to get me drafted to play for his team, but I wouldn't doubt that he was telling some of the coaches to turn on the Louisville games on Saturdays. But like I said, be ready for the next episode. We're going to go through the rest of my rookie season and how it plays out. I'll see you in the next one.